Hey everyone, my name is Wedge. We're coming off the tail end of Shadows over Innistrad pre-release, and wow, that's sweet. Of course, with a new set comes a new rotation. New Standard is upon us in only a few days, April 8th to be exact. Anyways, I think it's about time we look into the future. Today I'll be teching for you a Standard deck that survives rotation and has been tearing up Magic Online tournaments like a boss. Best part, you can build the entire thing out of Dragons of Tarkir, Magic Origins, Battle for Zendikar, and Oath of the Gatewatch. So in case you haven't had a chance to get your hands on Shadows yet, don't worry about it, I got your back. It's time to talk Mono Red Eldrazi. If you enjoy our deck techs and want more of these, please hit that there like button, helps out a lot. Mono Red Eldrazi is a weird combination of aggressive and mid-range strategies. While it is technically mono red and that red is the only color in the deck, it also focuses heavily on colorless specific mana. You'll see what I mean in a second. Let's get the lands out of the way first. The deck runs 4 Shivan Reef and 3 Battlefield Forge for colored non-basics. You don't really need the white or blue mana, but this land produces red and colorless, so you'll take it. For colorless sources, we're running 4 Foundry of the Consuls, 2 Ruins of Oran-Rief, and 2 Sea Gate Wreckage. The Foundry creates more colorless creatures which have value late game. We'll talk more about that in a bit. Sea Gate Wreckage is just a fantastic card for refueling your hand after you drop everything, and Ruins of Oran-Rief buffs most any creature you want, considering more than half of them in the deck are colorless. The rest of the land base is simply 10 mountains. That makes 25 lands in total. This is a creature deck first and foremost. We'll begin at the bottom of our curve and work our way up. 4 Hangarback Walker seems like a great start. While the Walker has been falling a bit out of favor recently, I think we can expect it to be all over New Standard. 4 colored decks won't be as easy to run anymore, and Hangarback Walker lets you cast it using whatever the heck you want. It's just a solid value card, worthy of a playset inclusion. Our only other 2-drop is Hedron Crawler, another playset. See what I mean about a weird mix between aggressive and mid-range? The Crawler is obviously not an aggressive creature, but it produces colorless mana and ramps us into our bigger threats early. As you'll see, having 4 mana on turn 3 is a good thing. Dropping the Crawler on turn 2, then getting to untap, you'll be way ahead. Moving up to 3 drops, we'll begin with another playset, this time Thopter Engineer. I know, limited powerhouse comes to Standard. The Engineer is 3 mana for a 1/3 blocker and a 1/1 flyer with haste. That's pretty sweet value. Bringing fast damage and high toughness for that cost is great. Plus, that second ability is nothing to scoff at. We have Hangarback Walker and its tokens after all. Something happens to that guy and boom, the tokens have haste. Good stuff. Our other 3-drop and another playset is Vile Aggregate. This is really where our deck starts coming together. Up to this point, we were just playing colorless creatures that brought some value with them. Vile Aggregate is the payment for all of your colorless hard work. 3 mana for 5 toughness, and let's be honest, at least 3 power, yeah, that's real good. Especially when it has trample and ingest. Vile Aggregate in a colorless deck is supremely powerful, think about it. Drop it mid to late game, it's not unthinkable for this to be a 5/5 for 3 mana with trample and ingest. Or a 6/5 for 3. As long as you're running this heavy of a colorless creature shell, the Aggregate is just insanity. Best payoff in your deck by far, makes the whole thing worth playing. Now that you've seen our huge payoff card, the rest of the deck will make more sense to you. In the 4-drop slot, we have 3 Thought-Knot Seer. The fact that it's colorless is simply upside. Everyone knows this card is stupidly powerful. 4 mana for a 4/4 with a powerful discard ability, yeah, you're going to play this every time you can play it. You'll never have trouble casting it either. Most of your lands produce colorless mana, so that isn't even a problem either. Auto-include. It's possible running 4 is correct, but there's just so little room in the build, it's up to you. Our other 4-drop is Pia and Kiran Nalaar, 3 copies. I mean, do I really have to explain it at this point? 4 mana for a 2/2 and 2 colorless 1/1s that you can throw at anything you want, super strong. Pumps your Aggregate, they get haste off of your Thopter Engineer, obvious synergies here. Plus, you can turn 2 Hedron Crawler into turn 3 Pia and Kiran or Thought-Knot Seer. Those are both such hard cards to answer. Plus, Pia and Kiran can also sack any artifact. That includes Foundry Thopters, Hangarback Thopters. They'll have ammunition for days. It's a great card for this deck. The last creature in the deck, and definitely one of the most powerful, is Reality Smasher, a full playset. Adds to our colorless creature count for Vile, attacks as soon as it hits the table, forces your opponent to 2-for-1 themselves, unless of course they cast a card with Madness off the ability, that'd be hilarious. But anyways, yeah, the Smasher is a 5/5 trampler with haste for 5 with no inherent drawback, it just makes sense. Gives you some late game reach on top of your army of 1/1s, no reason not to play it. If there was a financial barrier of entry to the deck, it would be what we're talking about next, a full playset of Chandra Flamecaller. I know she's really expensive, but I told you to buy her when she was $10, I told you. Anyways, there's no good replacement for her. A budget version of this deck could not exist and be anywhere near the effectiveness of the original model without Chandra. She's just too impactful. She can create 6 power out of nowhere, let you cycle away a bad hand +1, and best of all, she can board wipe, leaving your Vile Aggregate alive with a bunch of Thopters from your Hangarback Walker. She has 6 mana, but with Hedron Crawlers and everything else you have going on, 6 mana isn't going to be some impossible feat. Remember, you aren't a traditional aggro deck. Chandra is one of the best cards in this strategy. All of her abilities will be relevant at some point in a game. It's so good. The rest of the deck is just 5 cards, all of them removal spells. Thanks to the ridiculous amount of colorless mana sources that we're running, we can afford a pair of Spatial Contortion. Card's bonkers. In the upcoming standard format, it'll be able to kill most anything you want dead. Of course, there are exceptions, but -3 is a powerful effect, especially in only 2 mana. Of course, sometimes you need to contortion your Vile Aggregate for funsies. There's also that. What a scamp. The last card in the deck as a 3 of is Roast. Again, we're talking about cheap removal spells with a lot of reach, and you can't get much cheaper than Roast. 5 damage for 2 mana with only 1 minor drawback seems good to me. If Spatial Contortion can't take down what you don't like, this sure as heck will. Kalitas is about to take a huge roast to the face. I expect that dude everywhere. Anyways, yeah, Roast is just a solid removal spell, worth the inclusion. That does it for the main deck. We'll talk sideboard in a second. Now, Mono Red Eldrazi doesn't function like a normal aggro deck, and it doesn't function like a normal mid-range deck. Aggro decks play the most aggressive crap possible and just turn them sideways. Mid-range decks play heavy value cards and win either through attrition on the battlefield or just outpacing the opponent. There are other ways for mid-range decks to play, but you get my point. Mono Red Eldrazi is somewhere in the middle. Now don't get me wrong, you want to flood the board as fast as possible, but you also want as many colorless creatures as you can get for your aggregate or Pia and Kiran. Hangarback Walker drops early and can apply pressure, but unlike an aggro deck, you won't be so quick to throw this away for 1 or 2 tokens. It may be better for the Walker to sit back and gain counters instead of getting a few points in. While I know this doesn't sound very aggressive, it's not supposed to be. You need your creatures to gain you as much value as possible. It's about synergy on the battlefield. Don't pressure your opponent by trading your good creatures. Trade your Reality Smasher, but don't trade your enablers. Be careful. Time to talk sideboard, and again, we're going to focus on as many non-Shadows cards as possible. Eldrazi Obligator, a must include in the board. You'll always have the colorless mana for the trigger, so that isn't a problem. Take their biggest creature, clear the way for your Thought-Knot and Reality Smashers, and just destroy them. This is a card that makes for huge swings when up against something gigantic, definitely worthy of at least 3 spots, maybe 4. While we don't know what new standard is going to look like just yet, I'd feel remiss if I didn't tell you to at least pack a few Rending Volley just in case. Again, just in case. It's true that Wingmate Rock is gone, I get that, but you never know. Targeted removal like this is really valuable when you find yourself up against that archetype. It's going to be week 1 of new standard, so cover your bases. Speaking of covering your bases, I'd run a pair of Warping Whale. You never know when you're going to need that Exile clause or even the counter sorcery option. Against control decks or anything running Thing in the Ice, this is especially powerful. Play at least 2 for now. The last card I'll suggest is for any other token strategy you come up on. You either want to run Boiling Earth or Barrage of Boulders. I'm not entirely sure which one is better right now, but they both have uses. Boiling Earth can be effective late game, but Barrage of Boulders is an auto win if you have Ferocity and a few decent creatures on the board. Barrage probably takes the cake right now, but I think it's close. Let me know what you think about this current iteration of Mono Red Eldrazi. Of course, things are going to change in the coming weeks, but this is a great place to start, especially if you don't have a lot of Shadows over Innistrad just yet. Doing my best to help you. As always, subscribe for the latest and most reliable Magic the Gathering information you could ever need. This is the Mana Source. I'm Wedge. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. This video is brought to you in part by TCGplayer.com. Standard rotation is days away. Days away. I'm sorry, but I can't justify Hangarback Walker's price being $8. I just can't. This is one of the most powerful cards in Standard, and I think it deserves to be at least 10. If you were looking for the Walker to drop in price, now is the time to buy. Hangarback not what you want? That's fine. While all the attention is on the new land, Shivan Reef has found a way to be $3. $3. Remember, mana isn't going to be easy anymore. You gotta work if you want to run 3 colors. The Pain Lands give you colorless mana and guaranteed untapped colored mana. It's valuable, just saying. Click the links and help the channel. Enjoy.